This is the Motivated Business Show, hosted by me, Mark Terrell, the author of Motivated, the Reluctant Leader's Guide to Building a Business That Sets You Free. In my book, I share the 7-step process to get the measure of your business. M.E.A.S.U.R.E is an acronym that stands for Mirror, Evaluate, Action, Systemize, Unify, Review, and Energize. On each episode, I'll be chatting to a business owner about how they stay motivated and how they've got the measure of their business. So without further ado, let's find out who's joining me on this episode. Hello and welcome to this episode of the Motivated Business Show with me, Mark Terrell. Today we're talking about customer experience with a fellow motivational map advocate, I suppose you could say. So it's going to be an interesting one. Looking forward to it. But before we do that, just to introduce you to a few things. My book, which I mentioned in the intro, is Motivated, and you can buy that either direct from Amazon, or you can get it direct from me, and you can get that on Kindle form or in paperback form on Amazon. If you want to buy it from me, you can buy me a couple of coffees. So there's a couple of things you can do. Buy me a coffee, you can just buy me one, and that would just help to keep the podcast show on the road, as it were. If you buy me 2 coffees, and you can do that by clicking on that QR code, then I will send you a copy of my book, and I'll be more than happy to do that. So hopefully that will entice you to buy me a couple of coffees, and you'll get the book to read, and any feedback from the book is gratefully received. And now let's get on with the show. Let's bring on today's guest. Welcome, Richard.
Hello.
Richard, just give you an opportunity to introduce yourself properly before we get stuck into the topics.
Fantastic. Good morning, everybody. My name's Richard Knight, and I run a business called Insight6, based down in the Dorset and Wiltshire area. We're actually a franchise organisation, and we look at customer experience. So what's that all about? I hear you cry. Well, we are basically looking at the insight that comes from what customers think about an organisation. So what is it that an organisation does, and how does it make their customers feel? So therefore it drives their behaviours. We can think about it from a customer service point of view, and customer service is part of customer experience, but it's from the very beginning. So before a customer's even dealt with an organisation, all the way through to 2-3 years after they've bought something from an organisation or are still buying something from an organisation. So the idea is, if you look at the insight, if you make sure that you're looking at the data, you can change what you do as an organisation to ensure it's fitting the expectations, the wants and needs of customers. So it's a fantastic area to be in, and we work across multiple sectors. So we provide feedback systems and mystery inquiries, so covert operatives, as we like to call them, to find out what's going on in a business. And that's what we do in a nutshell.
Fabulous. I reminded myself there of every time I go to the gym now, the instructor says, please leave some feedback. Obviously, and I think one or two of them say, yeah, because I get a coffee if it's good. And I was thinking,
okay.
Well, I suppose it's some way I've encouraged people to give true feedback, but I think ultimately a business wants feedback that actually they can do something with, and it's truthful. And so that's my sort of opening gambit really with regards to customer experience. How do we get data that's actually accurate and actually really useful for the business that can use that information going forward?
Yeah, it's an interesting point you make, and there's a mix of organisations actually. You mentioned ones who want to do something with the feedback. There's also a lot of organisations who gather feedback because they think they should, but actually they never do anything with it. So one of the key things is that if any organisation's actually looking to gather feedback is, what are you going to do with it? That is the first thing that they need to think about. Because if you're not going to do anything with it, then there's no point in asking. I don't know about you, it's really frustrating. You click on things and you send your feedback and it just disappears into the ether. Things like Google reviews are really interesting, because if you do leave a feedback that isn't, any form of feedback really, it's quite nice to get a response.
Yeah.
even if it's just a thank you for your feedback. So one of my really enjoyable pastimes, it sounds boring, but actually is to go onto the Google reviews and look at organizations and go, okay, let's have a look. When you're getting a good feedback review, how are you responding? When you're getting some developmental feedback, negative as it might otherwise be known, in whose eyes depends, how are you answering that? Because that screams about your organization. If you choose to have a open fight with somebody about, yes, well, you didn't do what we asked you to do, or we dealt with it at the time and you weren't happy, and guess what, people are reading that, are seeing that your customer experience isn't going to be fantastic. If you're doing that on a public platform, how good is the interaction with you face to face, or when I'm paying money directly for you? So it's a really interesting one. So that's the first thing you need to do. But then when you're thinking about how you measure it, there's various ways you can gather that data. Feedback systems, mystery inquiries, phoning up your clients yourself, having an informal chat, asking somebody to come in and do what we call client interviews, client listening. So there's lots of ways you can do it. There's 3 key metrics that are really good to give you a flavour of how you're getting on as an organisation. And those 3 metrics cover customer satisfaction, customer loyalty, and customer effort. So those 3 things, if you can look at those and ask questions around those 3 areas, you're going to get a really good understanding of whether your processes and people are doing the right thing across the whole client journey. So if you think about customer satisfaction, are we providing a service or a product that is satisfying? Is it doing what we think it should do? Mm-hmm. So that can be as easy as a smiley face. Are you happy with what you received today? Smiley face, neutral face, or grumpy face? Really nice and simple. You can turn that into a 1 to 10 question. Same thing. How satisfied are you with the service you received today? 10 being amazing, 1 being rubbish. Mm-hmm. And that's a similar sort of thing. And again, you can ask it on what's the word I'm looking for? You can ask it in different ways in terms of, how satisfied are you? Very satisfied, not at all satisfied, etc., etc. Mm-hmm. That gives you the in the moment piece. Are you doing what you said you were going to do, and are people happy with it? Mm-hmm. So that gives you that satisfaction score. Then you've got something called, from a loyalty point of view, you're starting to look at something like the Net Promoter Score. I'm sure many people have heard about Net Promotion Score. Mm-hmm. It is a universal question that's asked about referral. So it is one question. How likely are you to refer our business to other people? That is giving you an indication of loyalty. Because if you're not willing to actually refer it to other people, chances are you're not going to hang around yourself. Yeah. Because it's all right. So you've got to think about that sort of thing going forward. And then the last one is around effort. Guess what? We like life easy. I know I do. Mm-hmm. And actually, if a business is making it more effort for me to do business with them than not, I'll go somewhere else. So literally the questions around, when you were communicating with us about your product, how easy was it for you to contact us? How easy was it for you to rectify your issue? How easy was it for you to find out about new products we have coming out? And again, you can ask that on a 1 to 10 scale, you can have a smiley face or whatever it is. But you're starting to get a 360 view of what the customers think of you. And you're measuring across different metrics rather than just saying smiley face, satisfaction score, which only gives you one sort of angle. There are many other things you can do, but those 3 are really quite good ones to get in place. And if you get those in place, you'll get a good understanding of what's going on.
Interesting. Because I when you said about the loyalty piece, that's the thing that I've got to score. When I leave a feedback for the gym, I've got to also say, how likely are you to recommend the gym to your friends and family? So that ticks a box. And the effort is an interesting thing, isn't it? Because we do want things to be easy. And when things don't work very often, we tend to think, oh, I'll forget it, I'll find somewhere else or go somewhere else. And it's and we don't want to lose clients like that, do we? That's Yeah,
Well,
it'd be disappointing, won't it? Yeah.
oh yeah, absolutely. You know,
Mm.
you want to make it as easy as possible, and this is where, and this also starts to talk about the other sort of topics that I'd love to chat about today in
Mm-hmm.
terms of the goal setting
Mm.
for organisations around their customer service. Because if you know where you want to get to, then there's more likelihood that you can actually track it and do something about it if things start to go the wrong way.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because it's all about being explicit about what good looks like, isn't it? So if everyone's clear about what that is and how they're being measured, then that's the key, isn't it? So I go back to my retail days, and we didn't have particularly good, detailed sort of ways of tracking it. But all I used to say was, particularly for new starters, I used to say, if you're on the till, remember you might be the only person that speaks to that person that day, especially if they're an old lady or an old gentleman that's just come out to get their shopping for the day.
Mhm.
They might be the only person. So I say, so make sure it's a good one. And some sort of, okay, but one or two really took that to heart and they went overboard, which just filled me with joy because I was thinking, well, that's what it's all about. It's the experience. It's not just coming to the shop to get what you want. Actually, you want to go away, like you said at the beginning. It's how you leave people feeling, isn't it? Essentially. Yeah.
Absolutely. The emotional connection is the key thing.
Yeah.
Customer experience is based on memory.
Mm.
It's not about actually what happened. It's about what a customer remembers of that interaction. And
Yeah.
memory is driven by an emotional connection to it. So if you've had a really, really fantastic interaction with somebody on the till, but they had a rubbish time trying to find the product in store, they're still likely to say, actually, do you know what? I'll go back there. Even if I had a little bit of a problem, it was more effort for me. But
Mm.
actually, when I left, that person on the till was so amazing. They made me feel really, really welcome, and I loved it. Then, yeah, do you know what? I'm going to come back. So, it's about different touch points that we have um, across a client or a customer's journey. And I mentioned client because we do lots of work with professional services, and they like to call their customers clients. Now, we're all customers at the end of the day,
Yeah.
but also got to remember that customers are different in different guises. So particularly B2B organizations, you've got suppliers, or if you're supplying to somebody who's then putting your widget into a bigger machine,
Mm.
you are, or they are your customers. Also, internally, customers. Who are your customers? We'll come on to that, I think,
Yeah.
as we go through this as well. But
Yeah.
I've sort of gone off on a slight one there. But we sort of mentioned that goal setting piece and around being where do we want to get to is a
Yeah.
critical one. So people going over the top, as you mentioned there, from the retail side of things, or going that little bit further, fantastic. It's a great thing to see. That might have a negative impact in terms of the speed at which somebody can get through the till.
Yeah.
So if you think about different organisations, you go to Aldi or Lidl, and they're throwing your food off at the end, aren't they? 100 miles an hour.
Trying to catch it. Yeah.
You've got to be an England cricketer to be able to catch it. I don't know whether an England cricketer is a good one to talk about, but anyway, you've got to be panther-like to catch the food as it comes through. But that's their model. That's what they've thought about. So they are setting their customer experience to be speed. So that's one of their goals that they are
Yeah.
looking for. So they can measure that in terms of their metrics. So if your organization, you've got to think about what it is you want your customers to say, think, and feel about your organization.
Mm.
And that's where a lot of organizations fall down. They miss that step. And I mentioned it earlier in terms of, from a business point of view and a planning point of view, lots of people go, yeah, I want to make lots of money. Great. Okay. So what does that specifically look like? How can you track that and make sure you're moving towards it? Same
Mm.
thing with a customer experience.
Mm.
Now we run with our clients and with the leadership teams an exercise where we are sitting down and we are saying, right, okay, let's talk about feelings. Scares the living daylights out of them straight away.
Yeah.
Particularly a bigger organisation. You what? We just got to make money. But yeah, let's talk about feelings. What is it you want your customers to really feel about the organisation? And you
Mm.
hone that down to your top 5 feelings of what you want them to feel, and also things you don't want them to feel.
Yeah.
Because if you're getting feedback that's giving you that language around negativity that you don't want your customers to feel, that's good feedback. You can do something about that.
Yeah.
But then you can also use those feelings and actually use the terminology and the wording in those feelings and put it into your questionnaires, put it into your feedback requests. Some companies want to delight their customers. Some companies want to satisfy them. That's fine, whatever you want to do. But you can then talk about, have we delighted you today in your interaction with our company? Then we're
Yeah.
starting to really use that language. So you can get really specific with it,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
fantastic.
It reminds me of the thing that I remember back in the retail days about being fast, good, and cheap. You
Yeah,
can't be all three, so you've got to choose two of them. Is that still the
yeah,
case?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, the thing is to think about as well is from that point of view, customers are really savvy because we've got access to everything. So
Mm.
we can see what's happening across any organization pretty much.
Yeah.
And the thing is that I talk a lot about is people buy on Amazon or Temu, whatever one it is, and it arrives. And if it's not good, they send it back or they just say, have a refund, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's easy. Now, I understand that not every organization can do that, but customers see it. Their expectations have lifted massively since COVID, particularly because people are
Mm.
spending more time online looking at that stuff, buying online.
Yeah.
So, what we got to start thinking about is your goal setting. Is that also setting expectations for your customers? And are you being clear in your expectations? Because you can manage it.
Yeah.
You can say, we're not Amazon. We're not going to send you a refund straight away. Here's
Mm.
our terms and conditions. And as long as you're doing it in a polite manner, chances are you're going to keep your customers. Now, some are always going to not like it and disappear. You can't
Yeah.
keep everybody. The old adage of the customer's always right. Now,
No.
customers aren't always right. It depends how you deal with it
Yeah.
as an organization.
Mm.
You could
I,
say,
well, I'm going to say we're going back to the expectation things is crucial, isn't it? I can remember I did an online order for some food not so long ago, and they sent me an email saying we're really sorry we can't deliver today. It's going to be tomorrow. But when your order comes, there'll be two extra things in it. I was thinking I wasn't even expecting it today. So great.
yeah,
They
yeah,
basically went over, but obviously their expectation was that it would deliver the next day. Well, I actually wasn't bothered. I just was waiting for the email to say when it's coming. But it
yeah.
just shows, doesn't it? We are very much like that these days, though. That we order today and we want it tomorrow or the next day. And if it's 3 days, well, God, I've ordered so long ago. Well, surely it should have been delivered by now. And
Yeah.
so that's expectation things is going up and up and up, isn't it? And that's why it's so
It is.
important to sort of measure it, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely, and be able to provide your employees with the ability to deal with things as well at the right level. Because if you want to be able to hit those targets and those goals you're setting yourself, you have to give accountability to your employees, allow them the freedom to make a decision as well. Because when you see customer experience drop down, it's where organisations go, no, I'm gonna have to report that up, and then, I'll have to report it up, and it goes up and up the chain. Of course, that's taking longer. It's taking customers more time. When you're sat on a phone call with your bank, yeah, I'd like to sort this out. Oh, well, I can't do that for you, so I'm going to have to put you onto somebody else. Put you on hold. 5 minutes later, how can I help you, sir? Well, you should know because you were passed on by somebody else. Oh, they
Yeah.
didn't tell me. Can you tell me what your situation is? Oh, I'll repeat it again.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, everyone's had that experience. It's infuriating, isn't it?
Yeah,
Gosh, yeah, it
absolutely.
drives you mad.
Yeah.
But
So
but I'm going to go back to what you just said about employees then, because that's the
yeah,
key thing here, isn't it? Because organisations are, very much at the mercy, I suppose, of their employees with the way that they actually interact with customers, isn't it? And I'm going to refer to our friend Richard Branson, who talks about if you look after your staff, then they'll look after your clients or customers for you. So, is that sort of an ethos that you go with regards to if you look after your people, then they're more likely to look after your clients?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And
Mm-hmm.
we use that. We use the equation of sort of CX, customer experience,
Mm-hmm.
multiplied by EX, employee experience, equals business growth.
Right.
It's a really simple thing to think about, and it's very logical. Unfortunately, lots of businesses get caught up in process. Now, you have to have process. When you talk about great experiences in an organization, there's a people piece and there's a process piece.
Mm-hmm.
When there's too much of a weighting towards the process, the people piece falls down, and you're not giving people that ability to make decisions themselves and to enable their customers to have a great experience. So therefore, if you're focusing on anything, employees is a really good place to be. And you mentioned earlier that we're both within the motivational map sphere. That's a fantastic way of understanding where the teams are in the right place.
Yeah.
Because if they're not motivated with what they do, or the roles that they're currently in, or the projects they're currently running with, guess what? They are going to have behaviors that are not conducive to a great customer experience at the end of the day. Even if you are in finance and you're sat in the back office and you don't speak directly to a customer ever, your actions and behaviors are having a knock-on effect.
Yeah.
If that person, that account manager, has phoned you because their customer hasn't received the invoice or the payment, and you're going, well, that's not my problem. We're on a 60-day thing, and yeah, whatever. That's we're doing what we should do. I can't do anything about it. Guess
Computer
what?
says no.
Yeah, it worked exactly. Your account manager's going,
Yeah.
internal departmental issues probably are more of an issue than actually speaking directly to customer issues, because that causes the problem, that causes the issue. The behaviors then that come out of it are very frustrated, are clipped, are short-lived. Well, I can't do anything about it, Mr. Customer. The customer's going to get annoyed. Or, I'm afraid I can't do anything about it because my colleagues internally aren't doing what they should be doing. And then that's the customer's thinking, hang on a second, what's going on there then? Why aren't you, I'm not impressed with this organisation. So yeah, the employee piece is critical.
Yeah, so it's important to make sure that they're engaged in the process, but also getting what they come to work for, isn't it? And that's the key with motivation, is being able to identify what everybody comes to work for and make sure those things are being fulfilled. Then they're more likely to be in a position and mindset to give the best service, I guess. And we all know that when we're feeling a bit hacked off, then we're unlikely to be in the best place to give that service, I guess. So that's what I'm saying with regards to understanding what motivates your team. Essentially, that's what you need to know to make sure that they're in that good place, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Are they in the right role? Are they doing the best they can possibly do? Because you've got to have that fuel, haven't you? As we talk about it from a MAPS point of view, you've got the energy, you've got the fuel to make you go and to give you that energy to go and perform at the highest level you possibly can. But also, I think something we spoke about previously before we came on here was around that, that sort of roller coaster-esque nature of motivation as well. 1 minute you could be down the bottom. How aware are your employees of their own motivation? Because there's lots we can do with it. Motivation's an internal thing, isn't it? Your managers can't go around with that stick or a carrot and make a massive difference. There might be a short-term gain, but long-term it drops off. My experience in the pharmaceutical industry, very much, bonuses were pretty good.
Yeah,
didn't really work for me. It wasn't something that floated my boat because I got a really nice salary anyway. So
which leads us lightly onto sort of career and the other things that you want to talk about with regards to never too late to change career, and also turning your passion into your job, which is a couple of things that you said beforehand you'd like to talk about. So do you want to give us a bit more of an idea about why you're passionate about those things?
Well, it's something that I've been looking into a lot more these days from my own point of view, but also from the clients that I work with and people I've been chatting to around as they're moving through their careers. They're changing a little bit and seeing more of the idea of, I don't have to do the old school way of working. I don't have to go into education, university, so on and so forth, and go through all those things. There's other stuff I can do. I'm also an actor. So I go around and I tread the boards, but I also go on the film sets and I do all that sort of stuff as well. I love it. It absolutely gives me so much energy, and I'm bouncing off the walls when I've done it all. And it enables me to go and do more in my job, as well as in the customer experience point of view, which is something else that was a bit more of a passion. Pharmaceutical industry, teaching, I've done project managing, I've done various roles throughout my time, and there was always a connection around interacting with customers, and that gave me energy. And I thought, okay, let's look at that a little bit more. So I was turning that sort of passion more so into what I was getting paid for. And there's more chance to do that if we understand what gives us that energy. So talking to more and more people now, there is that sort of dissatisfaction I've been doing this job for 30 years. I've been doing this job for 20 years, or even 5 years now with younger people, and I'm getting bored. Now, is it really boredom of that job, or is it just you're not focusing quite where it needs to be focused, or is it a whole? I never wanted to do this in the first place. I want to be a farmer. I've been doing accountancy for however long, but I've always tended my garden. I've always. Now, I'm not saying that everybody can then go drop everything and run off, because to your point you made earlier, there's a lot of people who think I've got to be the breadwinner.
Yeah, yeah.
I've got to make the money. There's always a way that you can start to maneuver towards something. What is it that you love doing? How can you start to get a little bit of money out of it? It might be a bit of pocket money, and that might be enough. That might keep you going. How much time in a week are you putting aside to actually focus on it?
Right.
Are you giving yourself enough time, or is it always going to be on the back burner?
Right. I'm going to ask the question that everybody that listens to this and watch this want me to ask you, and that is: so where can we see your acting prowess, Richard? Anywhere particular?
Well, recently I've been in. I live in Salisbury, so I've been on the stage in Salisbury in One Man, Two Governors, doing a good old British farce.
Right, yeah.
I've been in various over the years, Poldark and all those marvelous things. Gallivanting around with various costumes on. A lot more corporate stuff as well. So, and this is the other thing. See, acting's always been seen as this thing as well. You must be on something recognisable. There are so many different types of acting jobs. I also do voiceover work as well. So, there's other ways that performance piece, my motivation around performance and people and making a difference so people enjoy what they watch, that's where my motivation comes from. Not necessarily I want to be seen on stage. I haven't got so much of what we know as the star motivation, that recognition piece. Not so fussed about that, but I like people to enjoy it. So that's what drives me. And if it's from a voiceover or doing a narration on a book or being a lead in a Hollywood movie.
Yeah.
If there's any casting directors out there listening, I am free.
He's free.
It's the smaller bits as well. How much does that satisfy you? And it's recognising those smaller achievements. It's not all the big things. It's like I've got to make £1 million in my business. Do you? How much have you made this week? Oh, I've made £4,000. Tick.
Yeah.
Acknowledge it, celebrate it, all of those marvellous things.
Yeah. What I love about that, Richard, though, is when someone's talking about their passion, you can see the energy level just comes up that just a little bit, and that's what I just saw there. And that's when you really tap into someone's passion. And I think people are, when we talk about behavioural styles, I think everyone assumes that every actor's an extrovert, but I don't think that's correct. I think people are actors for many different reasons. It's the same for, people write books. They don't write them for the same reason, and that's again what motivates you to do something is very different to the way you do something, and that's the key to these things, isn't it?
Yeah.
Richard, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes just to sit back. I'm going to share the 7-step model and just talk about what we've talked about in relation to the 7-step model. Particularly, I think in this instance, it's about understanding ourselves and what we've just been talking about. Putting the mirror up, understanding what drives us, how behavioural styles is key. If we're starting a business or if we're going into a new career, understanding what you really want from that role is the important thing, most important thing, I think, and where you get your energy from. And then once you've done that, you can then evaluate, what's the next step? What am I going to set up a business, or am I going to go into a career? And how can I actually, like you've just said about your passions, bring them on board? And I know people that have created a business with regards to being actors. They go into businesses and then they act out scenarios to help businesses overcome challenges that they got in the business. So you never know how you could use your talents in a business. It's not, these days there's lots of opportunities, and sometimes you just need to be creative, don't you? So that's the 7-step model, just to go through the 7 steps. So understanding yourself, evaluating where you're going, taking action, systemizing what needs to be, which is the things that are important to your business, and make sure they're done well, because then once they're done well and there's a system, somebody else can do them for you, and that frees up your time. And then these last 3 steps essentially is about really building a team around you. If you want to grow your business, then you can't, in most cases, do it on your own. So just going on to motivation in particular, because that's, we're both big advocates of motivation in particular, and motivation maps in particular, and understanding what drives you at work and making sure those things are being fulfilled. If you're, money isn't the only thing people go to work for, and we're incentivizing people. If we only focus on money, when all we're doing is actually rewarding the one of the 9 motivators. So that's a mistake a lot of people make. So what do we need to do if people come to work to make a difference? If they want to make a difference, then how do you reward them? Well, you show them the difference they make. So give them good quality feedback in the workplace. And also, we talked about this just before we went live, Richard, didn't we? And you said about maybe people that are spirit driven. So people that like to be independent and autonomous maybe need to be sort of made aware of the importance that they have with regards to this customer experience, because they might be a little bit aloof and a bit distant from it when actually they've got a part to play wherever they are in the organisation. So just a few bits and pieces there to share on with regards to the 7-step model. I'll give Richard the opportunity to make any comments that he feels he wants to there.
No, I think it's that awareness piece. We all know when we're not feeling too great. So for me, that understanding and evaluation side of things is critical, whether it's within your organisation, your own employees, or yourself, but also your customers. So going back to that measurement of the customer experience as well. Once you've got that, you've got this really good 360 view of the world, and it enables you then to make decisions based on data as well, which is always a great thing to do.
Absolutely, yeah. What gets measured gets improved, or something like that, isn't it? I'm not great to remember these things, but anyway, before you go, Richard, thank you very much for your time today. It's been really interesting. I've never really thought of the customer experience, not in the way you've described, so it's been really useful for me. So hopefully those people that have listened in and also will catch this on replay, we've got lots of value. And if they want to hear more about how to create a better customer experience, then Richard's your man. So thank you again for your time today, Richard.
Thanks very much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Great stuff. That was really interesting. Customer experience these days is getting more and more important, isn't it? And I know when I'm a bit hacked off with the service, then it does tend to make me think twice about whether I'm going to interact with that company again. So it's a really important area of business. Right, just before we go then, there's the book that I mentioned, 7-step process I write about in the book. There's a chapter for each of the 7 steps, and also there's 2 extra chapters that talk about, which is one of the things that I find more and more important, is actually looking after yourself, looking after your health, firstly, and also enjoying the journey. So if you like a copy of that, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, if you buy me 2 coffees, I will send you a book. But if you just want to buy me 1 coffee, it all helps to keep the show on the road. And just to make it easier, you can scan that QR code, which would go straight to my Buy Me a Coffee page. And everything else is fairly straightforward from that point. So thank you for those that joined us live. And if you catch this on replay, please don't hesitate to leave us any comments, any questions you have for all the things that we've talked about. It's greatly received, and we will get back to you as soon as we can. But for now, we've got a day of work to do. So thank you again, and we will see you very soon on the next edition of the Motivated Business Show.